Welcome back to Passing Notes with Chaz Guinn. My name is Hayes Brumbeloe. It's good to have you back. This is a podcast all about real estate, especially the buying and selling of notes. But today's episode is going to be a little bit different for a good reason. I'm joined, obviously, with the man, Mr. Chaz Guinn. How are you this morning?
Episode 10, Hayes. 10. We're cranking these out. I mean,
we're ripping through.
I noticed that as we're getting through these, you know, we talk a lot about technical stuff, and hopefully folks are picking up some good nuggets, right?
I think they are.
I find like when I read these, like a good book, although some chapters kind of just, I'm blurred through the chapters. Like,
to reread
I'm
it.
just hoping somebody picks up a paragraph here or a chapter from this book that says, you know what, I'm finding value, right? So that's the hope.
I think, you know, I definitely think, I can speak for the audience. I think that what we've already put out there, they're loving. I can just tell you they're loving, because it's obviously this is all about awareness. It's about, you know, bringing something, this unique investment opportunity to a lot of new investors to the space, and I think it's been huge. I think it's been amazing value. It's been high level, and obviously, if you want to get really granular, we have a place for that, and you can go to Revolve Capital to learn more about that. But today's episode is going to be a little bit different, and when I say that, it's for good reason. Over the last 15 years, there have been a lot of people who have played a role, had an impact on your life, both personally and professionally. And one of those people in particular was Claudia Newcomer. Now, I'm sure a lot of the audience doesn't know who that is, but I would love for you to tell me who she is, what she means to you, and how she had a massive impact on you and Revolve Capital.
I would describe her in a few different words, but you know, one thing that she brought to us was culture, and she was our glue. We notice when it comes to humor, personality, really bringing some vibrance to this business. Because let's be really honest with each other, like, this business can be so darn boring when it comes to the minutia of going through paperwork and following up with transfers and underwriting deal flow. For me, that's fun, but I think for the most, they're like, okay, rah, rah, rah. So I'm like, you know, when it came to the personality side of our business, Claudia was at the epicenter of that. Sure. So we met in 2009. And I was a young buck in the game, and she was coming to our desk. We had established a trade desk at a private equity firm in 2009 that was purchasing thousands of these delinquent mortgages in 2009, right, as the Great Recession was hitting. And these mortgages were being shed by these banks in droves and huge tranches. Yeah. And here comes Claudia into our company at the time and said, look, I bring operational, underwriting, collateral, oversight, education, and not education, experience of dealing with hundreds and thousands of files on a yearly basis. Right. You could just tell she didn't glitch when it came to the size of the volume that we were touching. She had no issue. Right. So we were like, oh, she's different. Okay. And what we also noticed about her was, at the time, she was deeply married but had no children, so this was her hobby. She loved this just as much as this is what she did for a living, but this is what she did for fun. Right. And it just seeped out of her. Sure. Right. It also helped that she could drink your blood under the table and show up the next morning at 6 a.m. ready to work, just seething booze. and you're like, you know, you're a special beast, young lady. Yeah. But she goes, look, this is my baby. Her work was always her baby, right? Sure. So 2009, we start working together. And before you know it, we jumped over to another firm in early 2011 that we felt was kind of the pioneers of bringing the one-off opportunity to the real estate market that was looking to buy mortgage debt. Right. So I want to buy mortgage debt. I want to learn how to do it. I want to work with a friendly company that's going to help me make sure that I'm successful. Yeah, you're going to make your first purchase. You hopefully that first purchase goes well. But if it goes well and you want to start going now and you want to start buying in any sort of volume, you do need your hand held, so to speak. Sure. You do need, we always talk about education, but you also need you need folks that got your back. folks that got your back through service transfer, document transfer, that you have everything you need so you can effectively go out and manage your assets and make money.
Sure.
So that was the core for her, right? And you could tell that always breeded itself in the relationship from the get-go. And before you know it, when it came to conferences, when it came to annual events, and we're grabbing dinner and we're having fun, you saw this personality that she brought out in the client, in the friend that we were building, right? And building, we always talk about the long-term relationship. How do you do that, though, if you don't put the time and effort to answering and asking questions that tell us a little bit more about you as a person?
Getting to know them.
And that's what she brought to the business, right? So just a little bit of data. 2011 through 2018, through her efforts, through her core details of what she did for us as a company, 9,000 files went through her hands.
Oh, wow.
Right? Do the math. It's over, 1,000 plus assets a year, right? That she was just touching. And for us, whether it was a Friday night at 10 o'clock, right? Or whether it was a Saturday or a Monday, she was beating us in. Right? And she was saying, hey, look what I found. Here's documents that are missing in the file that will cause us heartburn when we get to the final stages of foreclosure and we come to take the real estate back. The judge will throw the file out. And this
She was detailed.
She was detailed. And you know what I've noticed is that she really highlighted that if you're a good quarterback out there, or if you're a good portfolio manager and asset manager, please realize your weaknesses. Realize there are things that are not your strengths.
Right.
And things that she was super strong at were my weaknesses. Things that she covered for us, I wasn't initially covering. And it could have been something minor in terms of the entire overall deal, but she was saying, this T has to be crossed.
She was the yin to your yang.
Oh, that was, we always joke she was my work wife. My current wife's like, no, she's right. No, that was his work wife. My wife even made her the bridesmaid in our wedding. I mean, that's how close the relationship those two had. Right. So, 2011, 18, 9,000 files through her hands. Right. And in 2018, our original structure that we built a really good brand about, right? We had awareness. Folks knew who we were. We were traveling the country, speaking at conferences, trading assets, hundreds and thousands of assets throughout the year, annually, building a deep database. And 2018, our structure, our folks, the company that was kind of backing us were like, look, we're about to turn 80 years old. And Claudia and I are sitting there like, no, we've built this ramp. We are scaling. We built this momentum of folks that are really starting to help us take market share in this arena. Right. So 2018 provided a huge door for us to open wide open and called it Revolve Capital. Right. And I remember her and I over dinner one night, we're like, look, what do we call it? We started with Evolve. And then we noticed it was just a bunch of fitness center. I was like, oh, can't be Evolve. Then we started going with all these different design logos, etc. And then she's the one who said, why don't we call it Revolve? Right? Aren't we going to be churning the capital over a couple of times a year? And aren't we going to be rinse and repeating the dollars? And I'm like, oh, there it is.
Gold.
So 2018, we started Revolve Capital and off and running. And here's my work wife. We have been growing the business together since 2009. We saw the height of the non-performing loan market come to the shores of every beach across the country, globally. We talked about this the other day when it came to the securitization market, right? When loans get securitized into bonds and then retraded out into the market. Once those files stopped paying and those principal and interest payments stopped getting dividend payments out to the investor. Now, if you remember with that movie, The Big Short, they talk about these different grades of these tranches, these CDOs.
I love that movie, by the way.
Oh, because it was an epic way to describe the business.
To a T.
How these subprime mortgages got originated.
That was an accurate movie.
Remember these cutaways they would do?
Oh, yeah.
They'd show you the one scene, then they cut away to Margot Robbie.
I was going to say a celebrity or something.
Or Anthony Bourdain and show you this different, kind of a complicated example, but they'd made it simplified.
Layman.
Right? Yeah. That was Claudia best at doing that. Right? And so she would make a very complicated scenario and really simplify it for somebody. It got that person comfortable to say, look, you know what? I bought 3 from you. They've done very well. You know what? Let's do 10. Let's do 10. And that's a big leap, right? From a unit basis, right?
Yeah, that's a big jump.
Now, they had the capital to do 10 from the start, but remember, they always want to kind of get going and kind of, flush out the processes, see any tweaks that need to be made, any risks that were stepped into.
100%.
But we always kind of teach, hey, hedge yourself.
Right.
Hedge yourself with this strategy, coupled with this strategy and this strategy. So one thing I always talked about before is that, yes, the sale is a huge part of the deal.
It's only half.
But then making money is really the principal core of what we teach here, is because that's the way you come back.
Right.
That's when you get comfortable going from 3 units to 10 units.
To 10, yeah.
And so that was Claudia's specialty, and that was her core strength for us. So that's what I mean by culture. Sure. I started this out saying culture. For her, it was, we want to breed a culture of folks that know that we mean you well when we want to see you succeed in the deal.
For sure. If they're successful, we're successful.
Then you're not coming back if you thought that was just a sales ploy.
Right.
What relationships long-term would we build if we were only in it for the one and done?
No way.
Come on.
Can't scale that.
What runway are you building? So 2018, man, we start the business. 2019, we're off and running. We're growing the deal. We're raising serious amounts of capital. We're putting capital work. We're allocating. We're taking on far more market share. In 2019, I get this call I never thought was happening. Now, let me take a step back. This was my workout partner, Monday through Friday. She's picking me up at 5:30 in the morning. We're hitting the gym. We're hitting a spin class. We're hitting a workout class. We're doing something to move our body, which I really believe is a core principle of success. We don't need you to be Arnold. I don't need you to be Stallone. I need you to move your body. That could come in a way of a walk.
I hope I do look like those guys when I'm their age.
They're 70 years old. Looking
These dudes are Stallone.
jacked.
Stallone is jacked.
You see this guy?
It's 75 or
What do
whatever
they call it?
he
What do they call it? The guy's a smoke show.
Oh, dude, he's a stallion.
Oh, literally.
Literally.
And so but you notice he's still just moving his body.
Right.
So that's kind of what a core fun that we found. We always united in moving our body. Even when we would travel, we'd get the workout in. Mm-hmm. So she was a fit gal. She constantly moved her body. Super fun, funny personality, great family, right? And we would travel 10, 15 times a year, right? So on the road, sure, there were shorter stints, but we had to get it in. This is how we grew folks from all corners of the country to know who we were.
Right.
And so 2018, start the firm. 2019, we're traveling our tail off. We go to Chicago in September of 2019. Had our blast. Spoke at this conference called Opportunity Zones. I'm sure people that are listening may have heard of this. It's where the government was trying to allocate funds to allow the private sector to be able to focus on opportunities and blight, right? Dilapidated, vacancy, rundown areas throughout the country that could be rehabilitated and brought back to a successful standard.
Sure.
Whatever that standard is for the state specific, right?
Sure.
So we were like, look, let's step into a new market. So we had a great time in Chicago building the business. 2 weeks later, we get this random call. And her husband, good friend of ours, godfather of one of my sons, that's how close we are, and get this call from him on a Sunday night. Now, me and him were talking a little bit of junk regarding some football over the weekend, so I thought he was calling to put a little bit of that in my face. I'm like, oh, okay, let me see what's he calling, right? So he says, look, Claudia's taken a spill. We've taken her to the hospital. She fell in the shower.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. So that's unlike her. But he was calling to tell me, I don't think she's going to be into work on Monday. I'm like, Bob, no worries, right? And calls me about an hour later and says, I think it's a little bit more serious than I think we initially let on, right? Yeah. And within the next 24 hours, Hayes, we lost her to a brain aneurysm. And life had changed for me and everybody that had known this gal and touched this gal in this business overnight.
Yeah.
And
that's a big loss.
But I'll tell you this, though, is that life happens for us, not to us.
Sure.
And that is what she's taught me from that loss.
Sure.
Is that there is something that has now been unlocked both on her journey and ours, to say there's a bigger mission that she has created for us, and it's through her culture, her personality, the journey she's left, because now her and I have been through so many different valleys, but we've touched so many different mountaintops and peaks that we now have the grit to continue to go the distance, and she knows it. And now we always say there's somebody on the other side now that's rooting us on, that hopefully is opening some doors,
watching out for us.
you know, and we feel that for us. And, you know, that was one of the biggest losses I've ever personally had, Hayes, both personally and professionally. I mentioned she was in our wedding. She was one of the first to hold my newborn son when he came out of the hospital. It's because, you know, she had been there for all the personal moments, but more importantly, we knew each other through work.
Right.
And I want to
That's where it started.
I'm glad you brought this topic up, because I don't talk about her much when it comes to kind of the public, but we want to. Her story, her impact is so left on us in this business and this culture that we want to talk about, that the relatableness in this business, because it's the secondary markets. Right. Stuff's traded through Excel, through your laptop. Yeah. It's not in your face type of real estate, which we're trying to really disrupt and bring differently to the market. But what she helped us really uncover was there is a nice, friendly, success-focused person on the other side of that phone, on the other side of that Zoom call, that wanted to see your success, because in your success also in turn came ours. Exactly. And we both were aligned with that mission, right? What a fantastic gal and her core.
And I still feel like she's a part of Revolve Capital today. And I'm, you know, obviously I never had the opportunity to meet her, but you know, there's a lot of people still on the team that did know her. And I mean, she had an impact on everyone. I mean, you know, we have Mark Blunden because of her. I mean, that was a relationship that she had.
Oh, that's a I'm glad you just brought him up.
You know what I mean?
That
so
was
it's like, and Mark's amazing.
That was key. Is that Mark and her had developed a relationship in 2016.
Right.
And we had really in the shadows, so to speak. She knew that she needed his support, his oversight on documents,
right.
his unison. We always talk about
brilliance.
Dude, so smart.
He's so smart.
Like he's listening here. You're like, yeah, I know.
He's gonna see this episode and be like, yes,
keep going, boys, keep going.
What else can you say about me?
No, but Mark is special. Comes to us from the UK. Super bright guy, but she saw in him the talent and the drive that she saw in so many of the bright stars in this business. Right. And we said, look, she built the business from the ground up with Mark, and we really intertwined him into the business in 2018. Yep. We really grew it in 16 at a prior fund we were managing. And in 18, we said, hey, be an integral part of what we do. Right. And when she left us and passed away, he stepped in so seamlessly. It was almost like it was a natural, it was a meant to be situation. Yeah. And look, that's a divine situation that is beyond all of us, right? This is where we talk about things happen for us. Yeah. And that happened for us, right? And her being lost didn't really necessarily happen to us. What's happening now in the business, see, I consistently talk about this, where I regret not making sure that she knew all the time that this business will continue. Right. Because it's about what we're doing for people. Right. What we're doing for the investor community, what we're doing for the banking community, what we're doing for the homeowner community. Yeah. Right? We're touching so many different avenues that are here for positive change. Right. That I don't know how many different companies in our space are focusing on that wide of a reach. Right. They're kind of narrowed. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing. I'm saying this as a strategy thing. I get why they're narrowed.
Yeah, sure.
They want to be specialists and excel and exceed and grow that specific channel. However, we've grown some deep channels, but we want to also grow furthermore in terms of awareness, friendliness, kindliness. We're building relationships here at Revolve. But it started with her.
Yep.
And I think that's important for our clients to know, our buyers, our vendors, our folks to know is that we're more than the human base. We want to build the deep relationship, right? And what comes from that though is honest goodness of saying, look, we want to see you succeed, bud. Because guess what? To get to trade 2 and 3 won't ever happen because trade 1 never successfully got off the ground.
And she laid the foundation.
That's
for
her,
that.
bricklayer.
She laid that foundation. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing. I know.
Thanks for bringing that up, man.
Well, it's one of those things where I thought the audience would absolutely appreciate hearing that side of Revolve Capital. She played a vital role in the beginning, and I still think she plays a role to this day. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you guys for stopping by. That's all the time we have. Make sure you go to Revolve Capital, learn more about what we do, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.